Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up?
Really like that.
You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Selective hearing. For you married men out there, you've probably heard this term or theory before, but it's basically a theory about, particularly men, but humans in general, where you kind of hear the things you want to hear, right? You kind of selectively pick and choose the things that you hear, the things that you pick up on in passing, right? A prime example for me, or a prime example would be, right? You say a bunch of words around your dog, and then you say, a keyword like walk or outside, and then boom, all of a sudden just outrageously crazy. Selective hearing, that's what's going on right there. This idea of selectively picking and choosing what we hear can also be applied to the things we speak and say, or in the cases tonight's opening discussion, the content that we choose to produce, the questions we choose to ask, the things we choose to dig upon, right? Particularly as content creators, particularly with TV networks like ESPN. Now, this is a layup shot to take, but I want to take it, okay? Arizona State was self-imposed a bowl ban today. I know where the echo's coming from. Join stream. I'm getting a sense of echo somewhere. Anyways, sorry. Arizona State self-imposed a bowl ban today. They will be ineligible for all bowl games or postseason play due to infractions committed by Herm Edwards and his football coaching staff. Okay? And instead of making some, less than stellar joke about whether or not Arizona State was actually going to be able to play for a bowl game this year, let's talk about Herm Edwards. Do you know what pops up right now when you Google search Herm Edwards? The number one result is this bowl ban, this self-imposed bowl ban, this impact of the NCAA allegations and investigations that are coming down on this football program because of Herm Edwards. That's the number one thing. The number two thing that pops up is the contract that Herm Edwards has now signed and the new show that he is going to be doing on Monday nights in premiere broadcasting with Booger McFarland. That is what you find when you Google Herm Edwards right now. So we got juniors and seniors sitting at Arizona State that have transferred there to play for Coach Dillingham that will now no longer be able to play for a bowl game or to be able to play for the hope of a bowl game, to be able to hope to be 6-6. To be able to have something to hold on to late in the season when you're 5-5 or when you're 4-6 or whatever it is, right? Any type of hope, all extinguished. And here we are, ESPN. Has there been any questions asked? Has Herm Edwards released any statements? No. In fact, he's done the complete opposite. Okay. In fact, he released a statement the other day that basically said, when you become a head coach, there's certain things you got to delegate. There's certain things you got to hand out. And maybe I trusted the wrong people. And that's funny. Because the last time Herm Edwards was on ESPN airwaves as an ESPN employee, he was asked about an investigation at another school. And you know what he said? When you're the head coach, it's your responsibility. Your name's on that program. Everything that goes around that building, you should know about it. It's yours. You take responsibility. It's funny, man. When you out here telling everybody to take responsibility and it's time for you to own up on your own buck, and you're out here saying, nah, man, I just trusted the wrong people. That's on me. Like, bro, that's not great. That's not great behavior, and that's not great decision-making, in my opinion, from ESPN. Now, granted, it's Herm Edwards. He does great television. He sounds great. Herm Edwards is a tremendous sound clip. But Herm Edwards gets to duck all these things. He'll never be asked about them. They'll never have to talk about it. They'll never, make him take responsibility or accountability for the things that he did that are now costing and impacting the lives of, 22, 23-year-old men. But, hey, it is what it is, right? Selective hearing. That's what it is. It's picking and choosing the things we want to talk about. Picking and choosing the stances and the fights that we want to take. And that's exactly what ESPN did today, but hey, it is what it is. Welcome into tonight's show. We've got a loaded one for you guys. We're going to talk about who could be this year's version of TCU. We're not going to give it a full extension of top 25 or outside the top 25. I don't think what TCU did last year, I shouldn't say never. You never say never in college football, but I don't think it's ever going to happen again. This idea that some team outside the top 25 is going to play for a national title. But hey, we're going to take a stab at it, but we extended it to the top, or outside the top 20 Not necessarily the top 25. We're going to do buy or sell, a little national version of this. We do this a lot on the local hour. We're going to do this here on the national hour. Ohio State named a starter. We're going to bring on a guest today that knows a lot about Ohio State football. Excited to bring our boy Herm onto the show. We're going to preview Florida's game on Thursday. They obviously take a road trip out to Utah to see if they can beat the Fighting Utes out there in the Mormon State. And then Nick Saban obviously is not releasing a depth chart, and we're going to talk about that tonight as well. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing. If you missed any portion of tonight's show, we are available, however, wherever you find your podcast. Okay, just search the Film Guy Network. Find us there. And if you haven't already, go over, if you're a podcast person, I know we're a very visual, network. It's why it's a network. It's why it's not necessarily a podcast-oriented show. But, hey, if you got time, go over and write us a review. Okay, be kind. Support the show, however, wherever you can. Appreciate you guys being in here, man. It's a great show. Let's bring in the boys. Boys, how are we doing today?
Freaking juiced.
Freaking juice.
So ready for Saturday. Well, Thursday, actually.
Yeah, we got a big game on Thursday. A couple big games. There's 2 of them we said.
Yeah, what was it? Minnesota and who else?
Nebraska. That's who it was.
That'll be a good one.
On top of Utah, Florida, of course.
I got Nebraska in that football game. I know some people probably watched the news today. This wasn't even in the show notes. This is scripted and ad-lib, but I wanted to say this today. When you see news like Avery Gilbert, okay, when it's in the news like it was today, and you see videos like you did today, if you haven't seen it, don't watch it. When you see things like you did today, don't rush to any type of decision making. Just, in my opinion, what I do, and this is just me. This is honest to God, just me. Just pray for the kid. Like, make no judgment, make no assumptions. Don't even tweet. Don't do nothing. Just say a quick one. Just be like, hey, man, take care of that guy. Look out for him because he needs some help, man. He needs some love in his life. He needs some help. So, yeah, that's all you got to do. You ain't got to make no snap judgment. You ain't got to talk about, oh, dang, what a sad disappointment story, all that. No, just say a quick prayer, man. Lift him up. That's all you can do in those types of situations, okay? Don't have to make a statement or an opinion in those types of deals. Where were we at? Let's talk about Nick Saban, okay? Nick Saban came out today, and he refused, via the media, essentially refused to release a depth chart. He claims it's because his players read the headlines and they think it's finalized, and it becomes a bit of a distraction. His theory is that, hey, I got guys competing for jobs. If I let them know who's the guy actually winning the job, then maybe the guy who didn't win the job thinks that's permanent, even though it's not around here. This is Alabama, right? All this stuff. It's not the case, okay? It's just not how it works. And he knows this, okay? And anybody who's played football knows this, okay? Football players know who the one is. They do, okay? They know who's winning the battle. They're at practice all day, every day. They see who takes the reps. They know who gets the reps. They know how coaches are coaching them in the meeting, okay? We as players, we can tell by practice. We as players, we can tell by the game plan, okay? We as players, we can tell by the way we are being coached. We know. Players know. They know in that room. Everybody, if you're a corner fighting for a job right now, you know. It's Tuesday of game week. We know. We know who's about to take the reps with the ones. If we don't, that's led me to assume that you are a poorly planned and poorly executed and poorly practiced football program. And guess what? You are not. You are Alabama. You are Nick Saban. This idea that players don't know where they stand right now, that is the antithesis of everything you've ever created. Players know exactly where they stand. That's how Nick Saban and Kirby Smart run their program. They're forthcoming with their players. That's why the retention rates are so high at both these programs. They don't bullshit nobody. They're very forthcoming, very honest and open. This is the deal. This is where you have to improve. This is how you get better. All these things. This is what goes on. So they know. So this idea that players are going to turn it off or turn it on, depending upon where they stand on some mythical piece of paper that you're releasing to the media, it's fugazi. So why do this? Why come out and control this information like this other than just that, right? It's all these coaches, man. It's Kirby Smart. It's Nick Saban. It's Bill Belichick. Hell, even Kyle Whittingham's doing it right now at Utah. I don't understand the need to control information. I just understand that it happens. These college football coaches, man, they're different. Every single one of these coaches is extremely methodical with the information with which they release. They want to control narratives. And how do you do that? You control information, particularly depth chart information. Right? I can't allow a narrative to be created if I don't give the narrative juice, right? If I don't give it any type of intel. Okay, again, every single one of these coaches is like this. Kirby especially talks about this all the time in terms of like not allowing outside noise to impact their building. All of them talk about this. Keep the things in-house, right? Avoid all the outside noise, block it all out, horse blinders, all that cliche stuff, right? And then every single opportunity, all these coaches, every single opportunity they get, every single one of these coaches is afraid to give any information to outsiders in fear of narratives being created. So I ask you this. It's so weird to me, all of these coaches, every single one of you jokers, y'all preach to your players, hey, outside noise, block it out. Outside noise, outside noise. We don't do that. We don't do that. And then the moment you're asked to provide any type of information to where narratives and outside noise can actually be created, to where you can test your theory of whether or not your team's actually blocking out noise, you duck it. Every single one of y'all. Y'all hide the information, y'all hold the information to protect some narrative when your whole message is block out the outside noise. It's weird. Why not just give it to me? Why not just tell me who you're rolling out there?
Maybe it's because you want to remind everybody that you're in control of what goes on, and like you want to let the people know like who the alpha is in this situation, that they get to control.
You think
what
it's
they
a
want
power?
to. I guess like that's the only like kind of sense I can make out of that as to why a coach would do that and why they would stand so firmly on it.
Fam, you don't need a competitive advantage over Middle Tennessee State. You don't. They're preparing for all of them anyways. They're going to see them all because they're going to get. Ideally, they're down 42-0 in the third quarter. They're going to see all of them anyway, so they're going to be preparing for all of them. So, like, there is no competitive advantage here. By the way, your SEC schedule or your real schedule starts next week, okay? Texas ain't going to get no advantage for what you say this week anyways. All the advantage they're going to get is going to come from what you put on tape Saturday against Middle Tennessee State. Where's the rub? Where's the juice?
The only thing I can guess is that it's not done for the players to, prevent outside noise as it is as much to just keep fans at bay. If Nick Saban puts out a depth chart week one and then say it's Jalen Milroe. Say Jalen Milroe is a quarterback and then come the Texas game, he puts out Ty Buckner. Then the narrative automatically becomes amongst fans that, oh my God, something must have gone horribly wrong. They must not believe in Ty Buckner. Jalen Milroe must not have done well, yada, yada, yada. Where I think is if you don't have that depth chart and you kind of just, what I think is going to be a carousel of quarterbacks in this first game, because I don't think they know who the starter is either. So I think if you just have that 3 rotation, then by the Texas game, you have your starter. That's kind of what my theory is on it.
And when you're playing a team like Middle Tennessee, why not instead just say, like, well, we're going to use this game to figure out what our depth chart is. We don't have an official depth chart yet. We're going to kind of treat this game like we would in practice. Of course, there's going to be guys that are with the ones, and then we're going to have guys with the twos. But we're going to use this game to help us really finalize our depth chart, figure some things out before we do go play Texas.
Yes. It would be refreshing just to see Nick Saban come out and be like, look, we're going to beat the shit out of these guys. It doesn't matter who we put out at quarterback. We're going to figure things out by a Texas game. This is another scrimmage for us. We don't care.
Man, I don't even know. I watched it today. I sat there and watched the press conference that he had yesterday. And he wasn't even asked. He wasn't even asked about the quarterback position. And but at the end of his opening statement, he goes, and I know everybody wants to know about the depth chart, but you ain't getting it. That's like basically, he didn't even have to be provoked, didn't have to be asked about it. He just, that was the purpose of the press conference almost. Like, Kirby does this too. Kirby will show up sometimes and, within 45 seconds, you know why he's here. Like, you know he came with a message to be out here spitting. And it hadn't been that this year from him. There's been no, general overall message that he's walked in, except for the first scrimmage. After the first scrimmage, he wanted to let everybody know through the media that they sucked. And he said it. Nobody was good today, right? All these coaches show up with some type of motive or reason, MO, to be there. It's interesting, man. I don't necessarily understand why teams do this over and over again or why coaches do this over and over again, but it is the controlling of the information. And though I think I know football, I've never known these roles. You know what I mean? These roles are totally different. You got to control so much more information and you got to handle so many more different people and you have to appease so many different people that sometimes you just want the information kept. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like that's just kind of the vibes Saban's given off this entire offseason. Everything's kind of kept within the program. Nothing's getting leaked out. Like, you really don't hear anything about the quarterbacks. Very, very, very limited little information. So I think that's just kind of been their tactic. I guess you can call it a tactic. Their tactic this offseason, and who knows?
Look, I'm here. The point remains, as players, we know. All right, so this idea that you're doing this no depth chart thing to protect the sanctity of your players' mental, state, fugazi, boo hockey. It ain't true. All right, so let's move on from that. Anyways, y'all got buy or sell for me?
Yeah, we got a couple of ones.
Yeah, we got
Did we
some
show
good
love
ones.
to Prize Picks this hour?
We have
have
not.
not.
So but
All right,
let's go
hey,
do that.
Prize Picks, promo code Brooks, 100% deposit match today. I want y'all to get hooked on this. I want y'all to get hooked on it like I'm hooked on it. I'm hooked on Prize Picks like I'm hooked on caffeine. I'm hooked on Prize Picks like I'm hooked on Haley Austin. You feel me?
So I have the addiction, but you're hooked on it.
Or maybe I'm just doing a read.
I could have done it for you though.
Do the read.
No.
Okay then.
Nah,
That's
you've
what I'm
already incriminated me.
That's
once.
what I'm talking about. Here we
Moment's
go.
too big.
Moment's
Pissed
too
down your
big,
leg.
pissed down his leg, can't handle it. Not a star. Anyways, promo code Brooks, 100% deposit match today over on Prize Picks. They got some good stuff over there, as usual. If you're into baseball, the daily plays are the hit there, man. Like, pun intended. Our boy JC, Jacob, our guy that handles all the videography on the Friday Night Mike, that boy is hot. Like, I saw his balance the other day.
Bro, why ain't he dropping them in the Discord?
Bro, he ain't getting a check this month. He ain't. I seen his Prize Picks balance.
He need to
He
be
ain't getting a check this
dropping
month.
those locks in the Discord, bro. I need me some of that.
Bro, gonna be so hot. I know he watches the program. You're getting a check. Don't worry about it. Friday Night Mike. Y'all ain't watched that. Y'all need to go watch it. We got a great one coming up this week as well. We'll announce that later in the week. It's gonna be a big one. I'm super excited about this Friday night's matchup. Any of you boys want to go with me?
I would if I could.
South side of Atlanta.
I would if I
It
could.
might teach you some rhythm.
Some rhythm, huh?
Some rhythm.
All right. Get some
It might.
culture in me.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need it.
Dang,
A little
what
bit.
do you mean,
a
bro?
little bit. It's good for everybody. Hey, I'm gonna start taking my son to the barbershop. I faded him the other day. I gave my son his first fade. It looks pretty good, not gonna lie. But I think my boy Larry needs to handle that from now on. And we'll baptize him at the barbershop. You know what I mean?
Word.
Welcome in. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing, all that good stuff. I love to see, when we first started this NBR, when we first started moving toward National Hour, like, hey, y'all weren't feeling it. I love to see that, hey, the roots are planting. This thing is growing. I hope you guys grow and enjoy it with us, man. It's been fun. It's been good. And we ain't stopping, man. We've only just begun here this season. Let's do buy or sell. Let's knock it out before we talk to our boy Berm around 9:30. What y'all got?
So you want 3 from me?
Yeah, let's give me
All
3.
right, so I got one. A non-QB wins the Heisman this year.
You know what? This is the year they have more options to do so than ever before. And because you have 2, right? You have Brock Bowers and you have Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay? Those 2 football players have a legitimate chance to win the Heisman. So, yeah, I'm buying this from a sense that it's actually possible. Every other year, even the year Devontae Smith won the Heisman, did we? No one. I don't think anyone
No, no
expected
one saw
such a
that
thing.
Heck no.
Even that year, I don't think anyone really expected to be playing football, to be honest with you, come February. Or March it was, right? We're like March 14th, all hell broke loose in
Yeah.
2020. So even that year, like, you didn't expect it to happen. I don't think people expected it to happen this year, though. However, there are like 2 legitimate, like I said, options for such a thing. So I'm buying that for sure. Let's go you, Jay. Will, you got one?
Yeah, you cool if I steal one that you listed off earlier? We talked about this one together.
It is
but-
what it
so
is.
it's not really stealing.
It's
but-
teamwork for the dweebs.
Yeah, we were in here working. A Big Ten player wins the Heisman this year. We were talking earlier. Troy Smith is the last one to win it from the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Word?
Yeah.
That's like 2006.
Unless we somehow missed one.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, we went through it.
2006?
2006, Troy Smith, Ohio
Hey,
State.
dude, man. I wish my damn brain did that for anything else. Literally anything else. Why can't I do that? I can't do nothing. Math couldn't do it. English couldn't do it. History can't do it. Football, 2006, Troy Brown. 2007, Tim Tebow. Like, no, I don't think that's true. But anyways, that's
is-
how my brain works.
that is true.
That is true?
Yeah.
2008, Sam Bradford.
Yes.
Yes. No.
2009.
We listed all of them in the
We
car
did it
last night.
last time, but
2009, Matt Leinart. 2010,
nope.
Reggie
No,
Bush.
Matt Leinart was long gone. Mark
Anyways, beside the point.
Ingram. Mark Ingram.
I wish my brain did that for anything other than football.
Yeah, I feel that.
But I like that. I like that. Big Ten to win a Heisman. The options are obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., J.J. McCarthy maybe.
Yeah. Maybe Blake
If J.J.
Corum.
McCarthy throws for over 3,200 yards this year, I don't know what to do. You know what? I'll give $25 to a random person that comments J.J. McCarthy on this channel right now. All right? Because I don't think it happens. 3,200 yards. I don't think it happens.
All right, so my next one was Oklahoma holds teams to under 25 points per game this year. Last year they had
So the opposite of Iowa?
Yeah. Pretty
So
Yeah.
last year, for reference, last year was their awful year on defense. They held teams to even 30 points per game last year.
You see the link I sent into the chat today?
Yeah, that's
About
why. That's what
Venables?
made me ask
That's
this
what-
question.
So basically, apparently Venables didn't have a ton to do with defensive game planning last year, which is absurd to me,
wild.
dude. Wild. Like, your first year as a head coach, you're going to toss your hands up on your own defense. Bring in, was it Ted Roof? Bring in Ted Roof to run your defense, your defense that is very, 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 very complex. So in year 2, apparently Venables is going to be much more hands-on with his product, which is his defense. So you should see some type of improvement. 25 points per game, though, in the Big 12 is relatively difficult to produce.
I would agree with that.
But that only puts you in like the top 75 in points per game allowed?
Yeah, it's not a
elite.
world
It's not,
beater
it's not
stat.
elite at all. Kirby Smart talks about elite defense being 13 points per game. That's their standard at Georgia.
Yikes.
You can't score twice. That's a bad game.
And
It's
if
a
you-
bad performance
And
for
if
you.
you do it
Jay.
blocking that damn field goal.
Yeah. you are holding
We're
that
sending
line in
the
the fourth quarter.
house at your kicker.
It reminds me of that Kentucky game a couple years ago.
Yep.
I could have sworn Stoops had the over. I mean, it was
Yeah.
so sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
just look into it. You know, I'm just saying. Don't do that.
So wait, are you taking the over on Nebraska? Or not Nebraska,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
Yeah, team total overs. I think teams average more than 25 points per game
Okay.
against Oklahoma, just because of the schedule. I mean, shit. Every year in the Big 12, even with a good defense, Oklahoma gets themselves into a 45-44 football game. That's going to drastically impact any type of team averages. Any more buy sells?
Yeah, I can keep rattling them off.
Come on for days. We're waiting on
All right.
Bam at this point.
By the end of November, the Pac-12 will have a team in playoff contention. So end of the regular season, the
No.
Pac-12 will have a team in playoff contention. You're selling that?
The last 2 weeks, they'll have somebody, but it'll get ruined. Washington, USC, Oregon, one of those football teams will be 10-0, okay, or 9-1, going into the last 2 or 3 weeks of the college football regular season, and they'll have to go on the road, and they'll have to play one of their tougher opponents. All those schedules are back end loaded. We talked about this when we did the Pac-12 predictions, so I'm selling the hell out of that. So yeah, no, that's all I'm in there. I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
No.
I was just gonna say, like, that feels like the Pac-12 every year. Like last year, USC, Oregon were both in contention for the playoff. Oregon drops one late in the regular season, then USC freaking loses in the Pac-12 championship game, and all of a sudden, no more Pac-12 teams in the college football playoff. I'll give you another one.
I was gonna say, hold that thought. We'll circle back. I know Berm's a busy man.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the back studio. Let's get him added in right now. Let's not play around with my man's time because he's being gracious bringing it on here. So for those of you who don't know, Ohio State had a quarterback battle that extended all the way into fall camp. Not the first time that's happened under Ryan Day, I would imagine, but it was relatively unique to see one of the nation's premier powerhouses extend a quarterback battle all the way well into August. Man, you wanted him to take the whole screen there, didn't you? So we brought our man Berm in here. Berm runs. Let me be a real professional and give him his actual professional read in here. And this is why young people that are in any type of broadcast journalism school, that's why your Twitter bio is very, very important. Our man Jeremy Birmingham joins us. He's a recruiting analyst and photographer covering Ohio State for the podcast OSU and Ohio State Rivals. What's up, man? How you doing, Berm?
I am doing well. Long day. Obviously, Ohio State announced a quarterback today. It wasn't entirely a surprise how they decided to do things, but as you mentioned, for Ryan Day, this is a little bit different than he's had to deal with in the last 5 years of being a head coach, because in previous years it was pretty cut and dried. You knew Justin Fields was going to be your quarterback. You knew C.J. Stroud was going to be your quarterback in 2021 and 22. So this debate, this competition was a little bit different.
Yeah, and it was a real competition, it sounds like. I thought it was very interesting to hear out of Ohio State that they polled all of the coaches about a week ago, wasn't it, Berm? Where they went through and they said, hey, do you like Devin Brown? Do you like Kyle McCord? Which of these quarterbacks do you think we should play with? And according to Day, it was relatively split. Kind of take us through this battle all the way back to the spring, Berm. How truly competitive has it been?
I think it's been more competitive than people would have anticipated back in April. Kyle McCord is the class of 2021 5-star from Philadelphia. Devin Brown is a class of 2022 5-star from Corner Canyon in Utah. By that measure alone, people would have expected McCord to sort of separate. He has an extra year in the program, but both of those guys have been playing behind C.J. Stroud. And for Kyle McCord, he did have one start as a true freshman against the University of Akron, where he threw for 300 and some yards and 4 touchdowns. But he hasn't had an opportunity to really get a lot of playing time since when Ohio State has put him in the game. It's been a lot of just very vanilla stuff, run the clock out type of work. And because of that, heading into this spring, I think people would have expected that he would have been ahead of where Brown was. And it wasn't as separated as people thought. Then Devin Brown hurt his hand and broke his thumb at the end of spring, missed the Ohio State spring game, missed a couple weeks going into summer. And again, when he hit fall, people then would have thought because of that Kyle McCord would have a big gap. But Devin Brown's athleticism, I don't want to say it, he's got this very unique it factor to him. From the minute he got to Ohio State, the people in the building have mentioned that he's very Joe Burrow-esque in just his personality and his characteristics. And so there's been this push by him to just keep making it closer and closer and closer. But in the last 2 weeks, Ryan Day said today, it's been Kyle McCord because of his consistency that has elevated and put himself in a position to be the starter for Saturday against Indiana, but did say Devin Brown will play and play a lot, and I expect them both to play a lot in the first 3 weeks.
I was about to say, when I hear that one young quarterback sustained an injury in the spring, but when he is healthy, dude is just running that guy down is what it sounds like from all reports. It sounds like Devin Brown has been practicing exceptionally well, had an injury, still running him down in fall camp, but hey, we're going to give McCord the shot. Do you think this quarterback battle, if you will, extends, not well into the season, but into the season?
I think it will go probably through the first 3 weeks. Ohio State opens at Indiana on the road, so it is a Big Ten conference game this Saturday, which adds a little bit of a unique wrinkle to this. They then come back home and play FCS, Youngstown State, and then Western Kentucky, who, while Western Kentucky is a very good Group of Five program and one of the better offenses in the country, defensively, they're not going to be much of a test for Ohio State. And so I don't think you're going to get a real apples-to-apples comparison with these guys unless you put them in positions where they're competing in like-to-like situations. So there's been some discussion about how this is going to work. Ryan Day has not said exactly how he intends to deploy them against Indiana, but some believe that he'll do 3 series. Some think he'll go quarter by quarter. We just don't really know yet. And he said it's just going to be a matter of feel on Saturday. But I expect that they will both play a lot in the first 3 games of the year before Ohio State heads to South Bend and Notre Dame on September 24th.
I'm curious, how have they been doing this quarterback competition, Berm? Have they been given kind of one guy one day? Like, hey, today is Devin's day to go with the ones. Or has it been like, hey, Devin's going to get, the first group, and then Kyle's going to get the next, series? How have they been, handling these reps? I know at Georgia, for example, the place that we cover here, it's a day-by-day thing. If there's a true battle at a position, one guy gets it one day to fully get lathered and work with that ones unit, then the next guy gets the next day. How's that quarterback, battle kind of worked out and transgressed, for up there at Ohio State?
I think it's actually been pretty interesting, Brooks. What they've done is essentially run every practice as a split squad for the last month. And so they're both running every rep. Now, sometimes they're running it with the ones, sometimes they're running it with twos. Marvin Harrison will be with Kyle McCord, and then the next day or the next drill, he'll be with Devin Brown. So they've just been rotating it so that the guys are getting the same number of reps, but they're not getting it behind or with the same offensive line, with the same receiver. So Emeka Ibuka and Marvin Harrison have essentially been on different teams for the last month. And the tight ends have been split up, the running backs have been split up, the offensive line has been split up, just to make sure that Devin and Kyle get as many like-to-like snaps as they can, both of them being put in positions where they're behind sort of a makeshift offensive line, where the Ohio State defensive rush is in their face. And so it's been a lot of good work for them. But it is interesting because we don't know exactly what they're going to look like with the ones, and we won't know that until Saturday.
All right, Berm, replacing 2 offensive tackles, replacing a starting quarterback, replacing a slot receiver that didn't play a lot last year, replacing a defensive end that was a third-round draft pick. A lot of, not necessarily holes. It's Ohio State. They reload. What's the biggest concern entering 2023 for you, Berm?
I think even though most of the conversation is about the quarterback, I think Ryan Day has earned the pass, so to speak, when it comes to doubting or worrying about that position. I don't think anyone's really worried about Kyle McCord or Devin Brown being good once they get in there and play. So the biggest question mark is the offensive line, because not only are you replacing Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones, who's had an unbelievable NFL preseason, and you're also replacing Luke Whippler at center, who's also in the NFL now as a draft pick of the Browns and playing very well in the preseason. So you're replacing 3 out of your 5 starting offensive linemen, and including the highest drafted offensive tackle a year ago in Paris Johnson. So the Buckeyes have guys in place. They have a starting lineup. They know who they are. It's guys who are highly ranked players. Josh Fryer, a 4-star out of Indiana. Carson Hinsman, the number 1 ranked center in the class of 2022 out of Wisconsin. And then at left tackle, this is sort of the question mark I think people will look at, is a guy named Josh Simmons, who's a transfer from San Diego State. And he was not the best offensive tackle in the Mountain West. So he's a guy that they've retrofitted to. He's never played left tackle before, and he gets to Ohio State, starts working out, and they move him to left tackle, and he's going to be the guy there. So there's a lot of people who think he's got the athleticism to be really good there, but he doesn't have the tape, so people are sort of on edge looking at that. Defensively, depth-wise, they've got more than they've had in the last 5 years. You lose Zach Harrison, as you mentioned, but you have JT Tuimoloau returning. Yeah. Jack Sawyer, a former 5-star defensive end, played at the Jack last year, a hybrid linebacker spot. They moved him back to defensive end. He'll be there full-time. You've got really good players in Kenyatta Jackson, a top 40 player in his sophomore season behind them. Caden Curry, a top 100 player. And then you've got a really good defensive tackle group with Michael Hall, Tyleik Williams, Hero Kanu, transfer Taiwan Malone from Ole Miss. Like there's a lot of dudes to run in and out, but the question mark is offensive line without question.
Yeah, it's funny. I studying them year over year, last year and the year before, it's like carbon copy the offensive line. It's like, damn, how many career starts at this point is what I got to it. Like when evaluating them for the Peach Bowl, I was like, I've seen all 5 of these guys forever, it felt like. I mean, DeJuan Jones and Paris Johnson. Paris started at like 3 different spots during his years at Ohio State, didn't he? Right guard, left guard, and left tackle?
Yeah, and he only played 2 years, really, which is what makes it pretty improbable. His first start at Ohio State was in the national championship game against Alabama in the shortened 2020 season. So he got thrown into the fire there. You still, though, I mean, even though you're replacing 3 starters, Matthew Jones, who's going to play left guard for Ohio State's in his sixth year. So he's played a ton of football. Donovan Jackson, the right guard, will be playing his 3rd year. He was the number 1 ranked offensive lineman in the country when he came out in 2021. So you've got talent there. It's just a little bit unproven. And for all the depth Ohio State has everywhere else, the offensive line depth is a concern.
I'm sure
safeties are deep, corners are deep, 5 deep at running back, 9 deep at wide receiver, 5 deep at tight end. It's just the offensive line.
I'm sure we'll talk to you before November. But if you could, preseason predictions, how does that game against Michigan work out? And I know Penn State's good this year. By the way, can you explain the Penn State hype? Everybody's like, Penn State finna win a natty. What's going on here?
They're really good. They bring back a lot of guys who are young and explosive players, especially in the backfield. This all depends on 2 things. If James Franklin can get out of his own way, which he's had struggles to do, he's not proven himself to be a very good big game coach, makes poor decisions in big moments. And if Drew Aller, the 5-star quarterback, is what people think he is going to be. If he's any good, they can be really good. They play Michigan at home. They got to travel to Ohio State, but they're going to have a good team. They're a top 10 team in the country. They've returned maybe the best offensive tackle in the country in Olu Fashanu. They've got a really good depth on the defensive side of the ball and superstar level players at each position level in the secondary. You have Kalen King at linebacker. You've got a really good group with Abdul Carter leading the way. And you have Chop Robinson at the defensive end position, who's an extremely explosive and dynamic edge rusher. But you still have James Franklin as your head coach. And so until he wins one of those big games, it's hard to feel too good about it.
Ohio State, Michigan is going to be professional with his shots at folks. I couldn't be like that. I'm like, what you got, James Franklin? Burns like, but it's James Franklin.
I mean, the record's there. I think he's 1-15 or something against top 10 teams in his career. So, and that was against Ohio State, where they blocked a field goal with 2 minutes left. That returned it for a touchdown to pull off an upset in 2016. So, he very well would have been fired after that year if he didn't get that blocked field goal. So it's interesting how his career has turned out. But Ohio State Michigan is going to be a bloodbath, one way or the other. There's going to be a lot of physical football. I think Ohio State could go 11-1 in the regular season and make the playoff. I think they're going to win at Michigan, but I think the real challenge for them is actually going to be at Wisconsin in late October. They play them the week after Penn State. It's at night. There's a lot of emotions coming off the Penn State game the week before. Luke Fickell, getting a chance to coach against his alma mater at night in Madison. That place is crazy. If I'm sure you've never been there, but it's a madhouse, and they do a great job there with their offense. I think it's fascinating to see how Fickell's offense evolves. What Wisconsin's known for with Phil Longo now as the offensive coordinator, and they've still got Braylon Allen, the running back, coming back, who's one of the best players in the country. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. Tanner Mordecai from SMU is their new quarterback. So, like, there's a lot of moving parts. But the Big Ten and the Ohio State schedule specifically is difficult. The Buckeyes have to play at Michigan, have to play at Wisconsin, have to play at Notre Dame, have to, play Michigan State, who are up and down at times, but they got to travel to Purdue, which is a weird spot to play. It's like a vortex of hell in West Lafayette. Like, I don't understand the place. It's got this strange vibe around it. You walk into West Lafayette, and if you've ever seen Stranger Things, like, I imagine that's what it is.
Sounds like Auburn. Auburn's got a spooky vibe about it for opposition teams.
It's the sun's never out. It's always like 45 degrees. It's always 30-mile-an-hour winds. I don't understand it. It's like the Upside Down from Stranger Things.
He is Berm. He goes by @Berm on Twitter. Hey, how'd you get @Berm, by the way? Oh, you've been there since March of 2009.
No, you want to know the funny story, though? Here's the deal. There's a guy on Twitter years ago. So this was like 2015. I was like, I need to get this name. I found the guy who had the name @Berm. I looked at his followers. He had like 2 of them. I found one of them on Facebook and then linked up his name to them on Facebook, messaged the guy on Facebook. He was this guy in Canada whose name had nothing to do with Birmingham, which is my last name. And I just approached him on Facebook. I said, yo, I noticed you have this account and you don't use it. So can you just drop that so I can have it, please? And he said, sure, without a problem. And then he did it. Canadians are super nice.
They're almost like, I think Clemson fans are the Canadian fans of college football. If you've ever met a Clemson fan, they're extremely nice.
Well, not to Ohio State fans, they're not. That is a rivalry.
No one's nice to you guys, or no one's nice to those guys. No one likes
the nicest fan base. The nicest fan base I've ever encountered is Kansas State. Great people. Like, I would have Thanksgiving dinner with Kansas State folks anytime.
That checks out. I would have Thanksgiving with my man Berm. Hey, I'm sure I'll see you soon. I'm sure we'll have you on soon. I appreciate you for coming on. You can follow his work @Berm on Twitter. As you can tell, very few people know the Big Ten like that guy. I mean, that dude just rat-a-tat-tatted absolutely everything there is to know about the Big Ten. Appreciate Berm for joining us right there to preview or give us the rundown of the Ohio State kind of quarterback battle that is. So shouts out to my man Burns. Again, that's @Berm, BIRM on Twitter. What you guys think about this Ohio State matchup? First of all, very few guests will come on this network and out studio us or try.
I was gonna say
my man's got a setup, bro. And not to get brand new. I guarantee it, brand new with regards to his setup. I love that, guys. If you're producing content, can you give a shit about how you present yourself? I mean, seriously, can you try? Don't come on here with the nonsense. Very few people are gonna come in here with some setups like that. I love not only having this, but I love flexing this on people. I love getting on Zooms and they think they're gonna see some fat-faced guy in his car holding his phone, and I'm on a live, and I'm like, "What's up, baby?" You know what I mean? I love being able to flex this studio, and I love having this studio. I love doing this content with you guys, and I love getting back to these buyer sales. Give me one more, Kirby.
All right, last one. Let me pull it up and make sure I say it right. Vanderbilt beats not one, but 2 top 25 teams this season.
Oh, the top 25 is difficult. That basically means they're going to actually have to win a real SEC football game.
Yep.
Not sneak up on a 7-5 Florida team, not beat Kentucky. Didn't they beat Kentucky last year? I think they beat Kentucky on the road the week Georgia was playing Starkville, because I remember watching it outside in the freezing cold, outside of that stadium that is Mississippi State's fan base. Starkville, Mississippi, not a great place to sleep at a gas station. Just gonna let you know. Okay, not great. Not a lot to see in Starkville. If you drive, close your eyes a couple times, you might miss it. You know what I mean? You might miss the whole town.
Yeah, I hope Brandon Walker doesn't watch this.
Yeah, Brandon Walker, whatever. Anyways.
So are you buying or selling that?
Which one was it again? Selling. Just
Gotcha.
kidding. Welcome in, man. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you missed any portion of tonight's broadcast, you can find it wherever you get your podcast. Last year, Texas Christian University prayed for a national championship appearance, and they received it. And it was honestly one of the biggest rarities in college football. It's never happened in the college football playoff era where a preseason unranked football team made not only the college football playoff, but made the national title. So we thought it'd be fun to play a little game of TCU. Who could be this year's version of Texas Christian University. I don't know why I'm saying it that way.
Government
Who could have been
names.
this year's version of TCU? And my first thought was, hey, let's go check out this weird as hell Big 12 conference. This Big 12 conference be doing this every once in a while, spitting out a Horned Frog team that's really good, spitting out, not Texas and Oklahoma. Those two teams are kind of
Oklahoma
expected.
State almost made
spitting
it.
out, yeah, Oklahoma State almost made one. Baylor almost made one, right? Spitting out these Big 12 teams that are very, very close. Hey, Texas Tech, a football team that will not have a single underclassman on the two deep. Okay, not a single one. It's just grad transfer senior, 7th-year guy, 25-year-old with IRS withdrawn. I'm talking about old ass dude after old ass dude on that roster. They played a lot of football, and they were 8-5 last year. On this program, we have a little something called the year 3 theory when it comes to college football coaches. Joey McGuire is out there in year 2. He had an 8-5 football program that played some nut cutters last year. He lost some tight football games to some good football teams. And by the way, when he inserted Tyler Show as his starting quarterback, Show or Shao on that, or Shou, S-H-O-U-G-H, spelled like though, but with an S.
Show, for
Show.
sure.
Okay, Tyler Show inserted last year, played the last 5 games as a starter. They went 4-1. The only loss, his first career start against TCU, he was 9 for 20. It didn't look great. It was constipated as all get out, as you would expect it to be. They won 4 games in a row with him as their starting quarterback. He's returning again this year. Texas Tech, how about that?
I like it. They were on my list, and also because
75% of offensive production from a year ago back.
that's a good stat to have for a team like that. And then also, like, you got to get through Oregon and you got to get through Texas, and one of those is a non-conference game. So if you can if maybe you lose to Oregon but you beat Texas, you very well could be in that situation where you could be knocking on the college football playoff.
I stayed in the Big 12, but I wanted to get weirder than that.
Oh, I'll get weird.
I like UCF. I think Gus Malzahn's offense. Here's the thing, and look. If you just said TCU was making the playoff last year, we'd all have that reaction. So that's how you play a game. UCF, Gus Malzahn's offense is kind of hard to get prepared for. And when you haven't seen it all year, or it's the first time you go against it, on top of that, there's only one true contender from the Big 12 this year. It's Texas. If they implode, which they've done before,
Yeah, it's a possibility.
you can blow that conference wide open and be a 1-loss team, possibly even 2-loss. Like you said, this could be a year we have a 2-loss team in the playoffs. So
And John Rice Plumlee is donating all of his jersey sales to Children's Hospital, so he's getting the vibes right already. He's already putting in a good
I
word
like
with the
that.
Lord.
he's got karma on his side.
You know what? Give him 3. I freaking love that, man.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
I might buy a Rice Plumlee jersey.
Yeah, you know what? Might have to now. That's a
Might
good
have to.
point. I'll give you one. This was, I went with a group of 5 team. I'm going with Tulane because of this. Because they can get a notable win. They play Ole Miss at home. They don't have to go to Oxford. They get Ole Miss
What
at
the
home.
hell happened there?
I don't know. I guess they scheduled some weird, odd home and home. So they could get a big-time win early in the season. And then after that, if you beat Ole Miss at home, you can just cruise on through the rest of your schedule potentially. And next thing you know, you're talking in December saying Tulane's got a big win, undefeated.
I'll match your mid-major with another mid-major. Coastal Carolina. What if I told you Grayson McCall was playing his 58th year of college football? Yeah.
He's still there.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
I was in like 8th grade when he first started.
All right. What if I told you? All right. I'm talking about some dogs. I don't need no cats. I need some dogs. Meow. Sitting out of the front door. Y'all remember that, Coach?
Yeah.
That's just one of the greatest clips of all time. Got some dogs. Don't need no cats. Meow. Don't need no cats. Talking about, do I look pretty? Meow. All right. Grayson McCall, 35th year of college football. By the way, they opened the season on the road UCLA. So you need a signature win. They can get one. And by the way, I think a UCLA team, if you're going to get them, if you're going to sneak up on them and beat them as an underdog, early in the year when they don't necessarily have the quarterback battle figured out, that might be the time, because I think towards the end of the year, you're going to see them starting our guy Dante, the quarterback out there, Dante Moore, okay, as a true freshman. So early in the year, I don't think they're going to have elite quarterback play, even if it is the true freshman that gets the start. So, yeah, Grayson McCall.
I think they already named the
95th.
other guy that started.
Well, either way, it's going to be boo-boo. It's going to be not great quarterback play and a lot of running the football. Take the under on that game, too, because I believe Coastal Carolina is still out here running mesh option. Do we have another one?
Yeah, I got another one. I went to the Pac-12 this time because I wanted to think of a team that you would look at and be like, where the hell did they come from? Oregon State. You have Oregon, Washington, and Utah. You played 2 out of 3 of those games at home. I think the only away one is Oregon. If you go 2-3 in those games and win the Pac-12, you're probably representing the Pac-12 when you get to the playoff. It's a long shot, but I think it is possible.
I think it's possible if they give DJ Uiagalelei 7 quarterback powers a game. Just run the sucker
I like it.
like he's a semi-truck.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
That's what he is. Man's just a big old dude. Inconsistent in the passing game.
Yep.
But yeah, no. If you're looking for him, you got to reach for him. Speaking of reaching, dude, I spoke to an SEC staffer last night that thinks Texas A&M's going undefeated in the SEC West. Thinks they're going to go undefeated, have a 1-loss SEC championship game to Georgia, and make the college football playoff. To which I say no. Never, ever, would not. But they are outside the top 20. They're 23rd ranked team in the country right now. They fit our qualifications. They're extremely talented. Shamar Stewart is going to be one of the best defensive players in all of the Southeastern Conference. Okay, Evan Stewart is going to be one of the best offensive players in the entire conference. SEC teams are starting to hear matriculation out of other camps too now. Okay, Georgia folks are checking up, see what's going on elsewhere. Auburn folks are checking out to see what's going on elsewhere. You get what I'm saying? Alabama folks calling around to see what's going on. It sounds like Connor Weidman is a legitimate option. Sounds like Connor Weidman is going to play some football this year at the quarterback position for Texas A&M, and they are a talented football team. So why won't they be, an SEC Western champion? Because I don't believe in Jimbo Fisher. I don't believe Jimbo Fisher could ever motivate, young people at this point, at this stage in his career in 2023 for 15 straight weeks that is required to win or make a college football playoff nowadays. But they are sure shit talented enough. The only reason they are ranked 23rd right now is because they were 3-8 last year or whatever it was. Okay, they were not a good football team last year, week in and week out. They didn't have great quarterback play. That's why they're ranked 23rd, not because of how good they are or how talented they are. But I don't believe it. But when I hear SEC staffers being like, yo, A&M going to be good. Walter's name? The defensive lineman was a 5-star coming out of high school.
I'm blanking too.
Didn't forget how to play football.
Yeah.
Was not great last year. Played like boo-boo. But ain't just going to be terrible forever. You know what I mean? Like Labias Overton wasn't a super impactful player last year because he was a true freshman. By the way, was a 17-year-old freshman. People forget, skipped his senior year of high school to early enroll at A&M. So there's talent there. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. But we stuck ourselves with a situation where we got to pick bad football teams to try to win a title.
I mean, talent-wise, it definitely makes the most sense out of anyone on that.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the number 1 recruiting class last year. They've got a great blue chip ratio. Like you said, it's just the culture, the coaching, the way they've played games the last 2 seasons, that would make you out on that. But who's to say they can't turn around? Do you know one, Jay Will? Or?
Yeah, I do have another one. And going with Boise State because, if you know how when you play NCAA and you put together your schedule for the dynasty and it gives you a grade on how strong it is, Boise State would have an F- because they play Washington in week 1, and then your other big game is UCF, and then after that, it is just doo-doo. I mean, it's such an easy schedule.
A whole lot of Nevada.
Oh, yeah, a whole lot of Nevada. So, yeah, it's just Washington and UCF. So you can get some big-time wins there. You can get some signature wins. And if you run the rest of the schedule like you absolutely should, you could be in the college football playoff.
Print the shirts, whole lot of Nevada right now. Great show tonight, boys. We have one other thing that we have to preview.
I got one more.
Oh, you got one more?
I got one more.
Who you got?
I wanted to pick a team
Big Gator guy?
Florida? No way, dude. Not in that division.
Couldn't be me, bro.
I wanted to pick a team that, truly they've proven that at times they can win the games they shouldn't. They can win their conference. It's TCU.
They are unranked.
They could absolutely do it again. They're the only team that I've looked at and seen in my lifetime where it goes, they should have lost 5 games last year, and they made the national championship. So if they did it last year, obviously they lost pretty much everyone that got them there, but hell, they might do it again.
All right, thoughts on this Florida-Utah game? Obviously, Florida going out to Utah to play. We don't know whether or not our man's Cam Rising is going to play. He's just losing names out the hat today, just flying out from me. But hey, had the Troy Brown 2006, had that right on the tip of the tongue. But anyways, yeah. So good football game coming up Thursday night between these two guys. Who was the other Thursday night football game we had?
Minnesota and Nebraska.
Minnesota and Nebraska. So two good ones. Let's talk about this Utah matchup. Did y'all know that not only Cam Rising touch and go, don't know whether or not he's going to be a game time decision with his repaired knee, but apparently their backup got hurt as well.
I didn't know about that.
Ah, so that explains 6.5.
Dude, it dived. Wasn't that number opened at 14, I think.
Yeah.
The number was Utah favored by 14 points, and it has drastically changed.
Even with the third stringer, though, Utah still might be better than a touchdown.
All right, look, if Billy gets beat by Utah's third string quarterback, dog.
It's a problem,
Which one's
though.
worse? Which one's worse? You had a top 5 pick at the quarterback position, and you were 5-7, okay? Or you lose to Utah's third string quarterback. Which one's worse?
Top 5 quarterback.
I think losing the third string quarterback is worse because now it's on the road, but it's a team thing. Like Anthony Richardson didn't have much around him in that 5-7 year. If you collectively lose at a team that's on their third quarterback, that's not a great look at all.
I don't know, man. You get a top 5 talent at the quarterback position, and you can't get 6 wins. You can't get 6 of them to be completely bowl eligible.
Can't make a bowl game?
Yeah, like, come on. I think did they not? Did they
I
still
think
got to
were
make a bowl game?
selectively chosen.
Yeah,
They
they
got to
got-
play in like the Gasparilla Bowl.
Yeah, they got their ass beat by Oregon State.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah,
It was
that's
the
right.
Vegas Bowl.
30-3.
Yeah, it was a Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, because they kicked a field goal in the closing seconds
Yeah,
just to
totally.
make sure they didn't get shut out.
Yeah.
Pathetic. That's so bad.
Way to show your bias there, Jay Will.
That's anybody, man. Like, come on, bro. That's just
Hey,
pathetic.
that's not as bad as saying our season ended 6 weeks ago, like Dan Mullen did. All right.
We need another Swap Kings documentary with just the 2020 season.
I want to just talk to Dan Mullen about properly hemming our pants and Star Wars. That's all I want to talk to him about.
Oh man.
Oh, and timeout management. Dan Mullen, the worst timeout management guy I've ever seen.
We gotta
Man,
get
yeah.
we gotta get some more.
Dude,
on
I'm
the
telling
fight that
you,
happened.
Swamp Kings Part 2, just the 2020 season.
But do you really want a full docu-series on Dan Mullen hype pep talks before games?
Yes.
I want to do.
Yes,
I want to do
please.
Swamp Kings post Gainesville. I want to do Swamp Kings and just run down. I think our whatever man's name from Barstool Sports.
Jack Mack.
Yeah, he had some stats like 61% of the roster has been arrested.
Yeah.
Fucking insane, dog. Absolutely
Jeez.
bonkers numbers. We did some bonkers numbers here on NBR tonight, the show where we find national topics and we talk about them. This little podunk YouTube channel with this beautiful, beautiful studio and beautiful, beautiful content doing absolute numbers. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button on your way out. We appreciate you. We love you.